the false prophet, the Antichrist, Al-Messiah In Dajjal. This is the subject surrounding the controversial Netflix series Messiah. When the trailer was released, it caused quite a stir due to the religious nature of the show. It prompted Jordan's Royal Film Commission to ask Netflix not to stream it in their country, even though parts of the series were shot there. But the show has definitely been designed to create discussion and cause a stir among Muslims and other religious groups to provoke a response. It's a business strategy, and a good one at that. Controversy sells and generates interest. In an interview, the show creator calls it zeitgeisty, meaning that it captures the spirit of the times. Most of the reactions to this show have come from the trailer, which was probably designed to elicit such a reaction, rather than coming from the show itself. The series never claims to be about the second coming of Christ, or even a show about the Antichrist. Characters in the show ascribe various labels to the Messiah figure, which he neither confirms nor denies. What people need to know is that this is a big part of the Islamic belief system, so you must understand why some Muslims are reacting the way they are. Are some of these reactions linked to outrage culture? Undoubtedly. And it is also linked to certain levels of ignorance, but some Muslims do have genuine concerns about this show. My advice to them would be to use this series to their advantage. Use it as a talking point. Use it to educate the masses. Use it as a point of discussion. America is fascinated with cult leaders, whether it be Charles Manson, a criminal cult leader who has been portrayed in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Mindhunter Season 2.
Do you mind if we record this?
Or whether it's Jim Jones, who led his followers to commit mass suicide in Guyana by drinking Kool-Aid. Similar themes can be seen in the Messiah series, as this Al-Masih leaves his followers in the desert at the mercy of the Israelis at the border, who refuse them entry, though eventually allowing them in later. The name of the man everyone calls Al-Masih is actually Payam Golshiri, an Iranian born in Iraq. Throughout the show, people see him as performing miracles, but we do see another side to him. The only time we see him fail is when he plays with a coin he performs a trick with earlier on in the season. Behind closed doors, he drops the coin when disturbed. Make of that what you will. His escape from jail was not through some mystical power. He was let out by a prison guard who believed he was the Messiah. Perhaps Payam has powers of persuasion like Rasputin, as a visionary with charisma tied to mysticism. The elder called Mullah Omar delivers these youth, including Samir, best friend to Jibreel, to a quote-unquote Islamic school, to a man he seems to have known for a very long time. Either he delivers them in good faith, knowing they will be taken care of, or he knows they are an extremist organization, or both. It's hard to really say. It seems to me that he knew, which isn't a good thing at all. The show needs to be careful in not reinforcing stereotypes like the cliched madrasa radicalizations and easily brainwashing what is portrayed as weak-minded Muslims. Considering the events of the show itself, it is a scenario one can believe, but perhaps a clearer picture behind why people become radicalized should have been portrayed. A character called Jibreel believes in the Messiah and is one of his closest followers, but he is warned that he will be facing many trials. Later, Jibreel is made to say words that are not his own by an elder Palestinian. These scenes are intercut with the character Rebecca, who has been placed in a similar position, but the difference with her is that she speaks from the heart. This could be a reflection of how those around potential messianic figures surround and react to those figures, and the various dynamics of their initiations. Then you have the Palestinian cause, who takes Jibreel under their wing but is also used for their own gain. I think this is a realistic scenario given the circumstances in the story. Is this a critique of the Palestinian cause itself? I don't know. I hope not, because such a message shouldn't be used to invalidate their rights. He reveals that he cannot read. This was a trait of the Prophet Muhammad, because he was what they called the unlettered prophet. Does this mean Jibreel will have more of a messianic role to play in the future? Maybe. It was absolutely heartbreaking to see these two brothers pit against each other. I was really hoping that they would both survive, but it shows the tragedy of the brainwashed. In the end, Samir did not go through with it himself, but the mission was overtaken by the extremist terrorist, who deserves to die a horrible death of his own. The story shows yet again that it is Muslims themselves who suffer the most and lose their lives due to extremism. It is not clear whether or not the character Keon Woods is Muslim in the series, but if he is not and becomes one through his interest in the Quran, I hope he won't be a radical figure, but portrayed as a positive Islamic figure. Perhaps he will even be an adversary to Golshiri.
Messiah In Dune.
It's interesting that this series came out in the same year that Denis Villeneuve's Dune film is released. Much like Messiah, Frank Herbert's Dune deals with the messianic figure Paul Atreides, who becomes the leader of a nomadic people on a desert planet called Arrakis. Paul never calls himself the Messiah or the Mahdi, but he calls himself their leader. Golshiri does the same thing when asked if he is the Messiah.
Are you the Messiah?
I am a message.
Frank Herbert tackled similar themes in his Dune books.
While reading history, I got the idea that we had not looked at the messianic impulse in human society from what kind of a journalistic approach to it. Something that showed the impact of a Messiah on history as the creator of a power structure. Because inevitably, no matter how good the Messiah, other people enter the scene, other people are attracted to the power structure. I think that the idea of power corrupting, and absolute power corrupting absolutely, is not on the mark. I think what happens is that power attracts the corruptible. This is why you get people, for example, going to Guyana and drinking Kool-Aid, because the errors of the leader are amplified by the number who follow without question.
So who is the real Dajjal? In Islamic law, it is believed that the Dajjal exists now. He will emerge and spread his tribulation across the earth. He will be one-eyed, and the word kafir, unbeliever, will be written between his eyes. In one of his eyes he is blinded, and the other bulging like a grape. He will command the sky to withhold its rain, and the earth will withhold all of its produce, and nothing will grow. He will start by saying, "I am a prophet." Then he will say, "I am your Lord." He will have two flowing rivers, paradise and fire, but his fire will be a paradise, and his paradise will be a fire. It is said that Jesus will come and kill the Dajjal himself. We need to dispel some conspiracy theories though. One distinct feature of the Dajjal is his clear declaration of being a prophet and eventually proclaiming to be a god. The so-called El-Messiah of this show doesn't say this at all. The Dajjal is not an all-powerful being. In Islamic law, even the devil himself is granted certain powers by God and is by no means as powerful as him. I highly doubt the show was made to usher in the Dajjal or prepare us for his coming. Dajjal is not the TV or any such theory you've heard before. So what is the show trying to say? The show creators have made this to explore how people would react to a theoretical messiah, and perhaps offer reasons as to why those people would follow such a figure. The series is more about the psychology of following charismatic leaders rather than the Antichrist or Dajjal. It doesn't seem to intentionally be trying to reinforce stereotypes, but it is trying to explore how these people would deal with messianic figures or symbols of power and hope. And this is precisely how some groups would deal with them. What I would like to see, though, are more positive voices from Islamic and Arab groups in this narrative. The question is this show any good? The answer is yes. It's very well made, with a great accompanying score and some powerful performances. The character development is well paced, and there are some interesting character arcs left to be explored. The so-called Messiah figure uses different dialects and languages, which shows this was an intentional rather than poor Arabic use. They have taken care in getting the look and the language right, something all shows and films should take as a lesson and example from. The clothing was correct, the Arabic correct, even the Islamic praying was correct and not carelessly cut to fit editing needs. The show has been made with care, and the Arab actors delivered some powerful performances. These positive points should not be overlooked. So what's next for this storyline? One way to explain the strange occurrences is his involvement with jinn, supernatural beings that can teleport you anywhere and make you levitate. Or they make him the real Messiah Dajjal, the Antichrist. But I do not think that a show like this would be brave enough to do such a thing, as it would receive a huge backlash. And it's a pointless plotline. It would be better to reveal him as a fraud, or a man involved in the occult. I would like them to show him as a fraud, or to fully explore this being with powers, but not attributed to the actual Dajjal law in Islam, because he clearly doesn't fit a lot of the criteria of the Dajjal itself, even though he may be loosely based on him. It will start to get very messy if they portray Jibreel and Payam as a real Messiah and anti-Messiah characters, because neither fit any of the descriptions found in Islamic law or any other Abrahamic faith. What you must remember is that Western creatives have exhausted their religious and mythological texts, and are constantly finding new ways to tell the same stories or find other angles to tap into. It was only a matter of time before other faiths and cultures were explored. The Messiah series is fiction, and everyone should see it that way, but they should also look to their own beliefs and study the real lore of the Dajjal in Islam if they are interested. The series is asking us all questions, so respond with an answer as eloquently as you can, but answer the right questions. Use the series to reflect on charismatic leaders and the realities they offer. The grass is not always greener on the other side. In fact, it may not be green at all. What do you think of the show? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.